The distinction, nationalists versus politicians, a complete betrayal. Nationalism and nationalists defined. Nationalism as a movement tends to promote the interests of a particular nation, especially with the aim of gaining and maintaining its sovereignty, i.e. self-governance, over its perceived homeland to create a nation-state. It holds that each nation should govern itself, free from outside interference, i.e. self-determination, and that the nation is the only rightful source of political power. It further aims to build and maintain a single national identity based on a combination of shared characteristics such as ethnicity, geographic location, language, religion, and belief in a shared singular history, and to promote national unity. A nationalist, therefore, is a person who identifies with their own nation, their own people, their history, and supports its interests, especially to the exclusion of the interests of other nations. As such, a racist, in modern terms, could be anyone who identifies with their own race and supports its interests, even to the exclusion of the interests of other races. Of course, your mind jumps to white people, but what about the Chinese, the Indians, the Africans, the Arabs, the Jews? Are these not also racists? Politics and politicians defined. Politics, the ancient Greek word politica, which means affairs of the cities, or the things concerning the city, from Aristotle's works. A politician, therefore, a person who is involved or participates in the affairs of the cities, the nation. The difference. Politicians, since World War II's conclusion, are actually globalists. If politics is defined as affairs of the city, a nation, a collective deriving from its people, then any so-called politician who is not a stated nationalist, defined as someone who advocates for the nation's interests, anyone outside of this is by definition not a politician, as they are not acting in the best interests of the city and its people in the affairs of the city. They are advocating for those groups outside of the city and affairs outside of the city. They are lobbyists, foreign influences, invasive parasites, killing the host, the kingdom, from within its walls. They undermine our people, our nation in every way. There is no longer room for these individuals and groups in the eyes of the coming generation which has deflected the incessant World War II propaganda. They know this. That is why there is such an overt attempt at banning youth from access to information and dissident voices going against the establishment narrative. Restriction of our speech, especially political speech, is of utmost importance going forward. What can you do for me? Handouts. Politicians promise the world at someone's expense. As the El Salvadorian President Bukele told Tucker Carlson in his interview, quote, "Politicians have a great incentive to give away the treasury." Government, politicians, in their recent Western form, that is a globalist form, are not the solution, they are the problem. The nationalist says, "I will risk everything to protect this nation, its people, for you and your family's sake. Why will you, the centrist, the moderate, the conservative, not protect this nation for me and my family's sake?" Sacrifice. Quote here from Nick Fuentes says, "Love and selflessness and self-sacrifice are synonymous with the truth. It is self-preservation that is the strongest force acting against men's fight for nationalism's success. Preservation being monetary, status, relationships, material or quality of life, avoiding physical repercussions or psychological stress. These are disincentives. Trust that they work just as effectively as incentives. This is the carrot or stick. Nationalists are willing to sacrifice themselves for their country. Politicians are willing to sacrifice their country for themselves and their global handlers. This gradual loss of national sovereignty neatly aligns with the increased involvement of women in politics and the public square. They do not see sacrifice as noble and wish to avoid it. Instead, they will be beholden to the new men who take over from their current men. Joel Davis, in reference to the resources pumped into, quote, far-right surveillance through ASIO, the Australian Security and Intelligence Organisation, Joel poses the following. How can nationalists be a threat to national security? We are the national security. Who's going to defend the country if we get invaded? It's going to be the nationalists on the front line willing to die for the country. It's not going to be these Israeli operatives, these traitorous politicians bought out by Indian groups or Jewish groups or Chinese groups, the list goes on. It's going to be us. This needs emphasising. If nationalists, who are for the people, are deemed by the government, quote, an enemy of the state, that makes the people the nationalists represent also enemies of the state. Therefore, the state is the enemy of the people. As in its current form, the state, who are ones who exert power over the people, the state is not made up of these same people. We have no representation, and this is not a democracy. If something wasn't of any benefit to anyone and had such little power, there wouldn't be such historically tactical and ever more blatant efforts to destroy said thing, like in the case of nationalism. In nationalism, the benefit is for the people, at the expense of the controlling elite, versus currently, it is for the benefit of the controlling elite, at the expense of the people. Please connect these dots for your own sake. Nationalism would be ignored if it weren't powerful. It is powerful, so it must be destroyed. Follow on. Politicians, people's representatives. Their primary concern is that nationalists want to, quote, overthrow the government, a government which is meant to be made up of people's representatives. This only affects the politicians and the news media, as they are the ones that exercise their power over the nation's people. The nation's people are not better off under this current cowardice government. Nationalists, which as defined advocate for their nation's, their people's interests, nationalists' stated goal is to rule for the betterment of their nation's people, not foreign individuals and groups, corporate organisations or other nations. They wish to rule and rid their nation of these hostile actors. In His image. God creating us in His image, this is a key distinction. As it relates to CEOs and corporations' treatment of workers and Western governments' persisting mass immigration, the assault on workers' earning capacity, this is because they don't see themselves in the workers. Politicians, supposed public servants, don't see themselves in the people they are supposedly serving, because they are not serving, they are ruling, keeping us at bay. Politicians, globalists, capitalists, Jews don't see workers as equal. They don't work jobs themselves. They have others work for them. They do not value labour, only capital. They do not create value. They are the middlemen, brokers. They siphon other people's work. They also do not believe in God. Nationalists value labour, as they most often have laboured themselves. They see their fellow workers as brothers. They believe in family and in God. Abolition of material desires, bribes as controlled. Oftentimes, nationalists have developed a strong understanding that material is not their highest calling, perhaps through their countless hours of labour of which the, quote, capitalist, the globalist, the Jew has not devoted themselves to. Thus, they are not tempted by bribes in the same way an undeveloped, quote, politician is. When you can turn down bribes, you can stand on principle. Principles scare the ruling elite. That is why they kill or try to kill, physically or their character, those that can't be paid off. Think of Hitler, Oswald Mosley, JFK, Gaddafi and Trump, while holding up those others that can be paid off, entirely unprincipled, as heroes, Churchill, the Clintons, Obama, Zelensky. Quote, principles are the only thing that stop oligarchy. This is Jack Brady explaining it well on an episode with Joel Davis. That is, in short, libertarianism inevitably leads to oligarchy. Free markets will see those who accrue large sums of wealth in unregulated markets, wealth they want to retain, They will lobby and bribe, quote, politicians, not nationalists, to assist in insulating their empires from competition, regulation, and the state being taxes, tariffs, and royalties. This is current and future states. A wake-up call. A quote here: swimming against the current is not idiotic if the waters are racing towards a waterfall. The current trajectory is destruction. Socially, we have LGBT, mass immigration, safe supply drug addiction and alcoholism, gang violence and other random attacks, catch and release policing. We have fatherless homes, the lack of the family unit. We have poverty, homelessness, gambling, and suicide. Economically, money lending, inflation of assets and goods and services, cost of living, and mass immigration suppressing wages. Referencing the image to the right, nationalists don't have to do this ritual, as it is not in the nation's best interest. Politicians do, however, as they are in the business of pushing an agenda and programming beliefs. You can see its leaders there of the Labour Party standing beside a gay pride flag. The power of collective interest. True nationalism trumps anarchism. Anarchy, being no state control or power, sells us the idea that we as individuals can exchange and self-police without intervention. This would only be true with a homogeneous society, being all of the same race, a people. You would not wish to cheat one of your own, steal from your own, rape or murder your own. In market exchange, you would not wish to barter and lowball your own, or when selling, you would not wish to overcharge or price gouge your own. In reference to fair wages, you would not penny pinch, paying the labourer an honest day's work. You would not, as the worker, demand excessively more than reasonable from your boss if he was one of your own. There would be no need for police in the numbers we have currently when whites in Australia interact as if they're family. Disputes would be resolved cordially. Of course, Africans and British are not family, so why would the African treat the Australians as his own? They are so clearly not his own. The Africans have not developed nationalism in their own continent and still resort to tribal primitive conflict. It is said, treat others how you wish to be treated. Do not treat others how you do not wish to be treated. Do not treat a woman how you would not wish your sister to be treated. That's someone's daughter. This is all collective interest, that is, once removed from the individual. Progressives in recent history have prioritized individual liberties at the expense of the collective. The end result is unsafe neighborhoods, as individual perpetrators and their freedoms are put before the collective safety. This is growing catch and release policing. We also have the breakdown of the family unit, as women's right to abort, divorce, and collect child support, all put before the collective family's interest. And all of the other worst things: drug addiction, alcoholism, gambling, prostitution, and suicide. A quote here from Aristotle: "It is the habit of tyrants to prefer the company of aliens. Citizens, they feel, are enemies, but aliens will offer no opposition. Defenders are leaders, and leaders are defenders." A quote here: "In earlier times, warrior peoples had subjugated trading peoples, but no longer. Now the trading peoples are the masters of the land." Another here, someone says, quote, "There is no need for physical strength. I'm an intellectual." The response, quote, "The society that separates its scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools." Nationalists are willing to fight for their country. Emperors used to join the men on the front line. Modern-day politicians send young men to die for a globalist cause. Understand that anyone who removes themselves from the consequences of their decision can be brash. This is a key reason why women should not be in politics, as it requires decision-making that, should that result in conflict, a conflict that the woman would be shielded from. If she knows she will be shielded from conflict, she will make reckless and uninformed decisions. Woman already has birth control, abortion, divorce, child support, and alimony for all these reasons. It is the state that wants her making these decisions and wants to bail her out to justify its over-bloated size and reach. She is more emotional, irrational, and empathetic also. Perfect in convincing her we need asylum seekers and immigrants, quote, wanting a better life for their family. The immigrant, the foreigner, will not defend this country. So the immigrant should not be allowed to vote, should not be allowed to serve in office, should not be allowed to make any decisions that will affect the lives of the native founding stock, that is white men, descendants of white men, these who will have to defend the nation from the foreigners, of those already within. Your politicians, Woodrow Wilson on the Federal Reserve. He says, I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all of our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. Old wisdom. An image here reads, I read old books because I would rather learn from those who built civilization than those who tore it down. Another, people who are ashamed of their heritage cannot be trusted. Western society isn't dying because of external enemies. It's collapsing because it abandoned the principles and values that made it strong. Faith in itself, loyalty to its people, and the will to endure hardships have all been replaced by self-loathing, consumerism, and cowardice. For centuries, the West thrived because it believed in its own greatness. It didn't just celebrate its achievements, it honored the sacrifices of those who came before and worked tirelessly to ensure a brighter future for those yet to come. This collective sense of pride, duty, and unity built nations, cultures, and civilizations that stood the test of time. But now, the West despises its own history. It teaches its children to feel shame for their ancestry instead of pride. It replaces unity with division, celebrating every culture except its own. Without faith in its destiny, the West is hollow, vulnerable to external pressures, and unable to stand up for itself. Revival begins with one simple but powerful act, remembering who we are. Embrace the traditions and values that built our civilization, and never apologize for protecting what's ours. If we fail to do this, we will leave our descendants nothing but ruins and regret. What must be done? Quote here from Julius Evola, neither pleasure nor pain should enter as motives when one must do what must be done. Nationalists think in terms of securing the future of the nation, the people, not pleasure. Perhaps the greatest nationalist once said, quote, we must not forget that the highest aim of human existence is not the maintenance of a state or government, but rather the conservation of the race. Nationalists understand that the, quote, nation is not a government, a state, it is a people. Government is merely an effective tool best to ensure prosperity for those people. A message on behalf of nationalists. Let us convey in simple terms. We support what we support because we understand it. We oppose what we oppose because we understand it. It is not the case that we support what we support because we do not understand the converse. That is, it is not the case that we oppose what we oppose because we do not understand it. The progressives believe we oppose mass immigration and, quote, asylum seekers or bio-warfare because we don't understand, quote, multiculturalism, compassion, and the foreigner's need for a better life at our expense. We do understand. The progressives believe we oppose birth control and abortion because we don't understand the need for women to partake in the act of intercourse without becoming mothers. We do understand. Divorce and child support just the same. Progressives believe we oppose homosexuality and transgenderism because we don't understand. We do understand. Pornography, promiscuity, degeneracy, drug addiction, hedonism. We understand these things, Trojan horses to degrade our once virtuous societies. Alienation, the self-fulfilling prophecy. Those committed to addressing real issues are consumed by it. As real issues hold weight, keeping up with the latest gossip or fad holds no weight. This is why people engaged in superficiality are not people you are taken aback by. Those you are taken aback by are those who are strong, competent, and disciplined, stemming from investment and commitment. The disconnect between those who are unengaged sees the engaged alienated, a clear us versus them divide. Quote, "Oh, we don't worry about those guys and their opinions. They're not like us." This reception paralyzes those who want to advocate for real change, as they see those who have been alienated before them, i.e., if it weren't for a figure being disavowed by someone close to him, he would have taken action off his own untampered convictions. Instead, he hears, quote, "Oh, you don't want to end up like so-and-so." Of course, he does not want to be used as an example of warning, nor be closely associated with the one who an example has been made out of to him. He shies away from investing himself so he can remain friendly with the moderates. He cannot ignore the separation, however, and a jadedness grows. Why does he sit there and have meaningless conversation with those unengaged, all to keep up the appearance that he is not an outsider who is being casted away by the masses? He is an outcast, but he plays the part of the relatable everyday man. Summary. What can you do? Start getting sick of being lied to. You will seek out answers to your own questions. If you suspect you're being lied to, you most probably are. Study your family history. See what it is that is at stake should you coast through life and bring nothing of substance to their name. Discuss with family and close friends your ideals. What you think firstly is best for yourself as an individual, then what is best for you and your partner as current or future parents, what is best for your children, the family unit, what is best for the community as part of the town, state and country. Following this progression will help you give an appreciation for collective versus individual interests. Promote only nationalists, those that support and believe in you. Do not support politicians. They are a disgrace to everything your bloodline represents. That is all. Thanks for watching. Share if you found insightful. Comment your feedback or criticisms or any video suggestions. Cheers.